Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com. Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Good morning, marketers. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter and powered by WS Radio. A couple announcements to get through. We've got, first of all, I want to thank everyone for attending the Content Boot Camp a couple weeks ago. Had a really good turnout, got a lot of good tidbits out of that. And I just want to remind everyone to go ahead and pick up your tickets for the Mingle Bells 2019 event, which is taking place on December 12th at the MoxieHotel.com the Moxie Hotel downtown. Sorry, my head's all in the web right now. And that is on 6th Street. And again, that's on December 12th. And joining me in the studio, I got Sam Wheeler. And today we are going to talk about SEO in 2020. Sam, how are you doing today?
Hello. Pretty good. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing well. Good to have you back in the studio. We've took a brief hiatus. Things are getting a little crazy at the end of the year. I'm sure you can relate as well. And
yeah, totally. And we have a lot to talk about too. You know, new algorithm updates. You know, new year of SEO. I'm really excited to kind of dive into this today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, SEO for 2020. I feel like we're barely going to scratch the surface on that. We can talk about this until our hairs turn gray. I mean, I guess I'm already starting to get gray hairs, so any more of my hairs turn gray.
Yeah, it might be a good topic for a few different podcasts for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe we'll have to do another one at the start of the year once things really start going in full swing after the holidays. So, all right, just diving right into the first segment here of SEO for 2020. I want to start with Domain Authority 2.0. And so Domain Authority 2.0, we saw some big changes in the past year. I really want to talk about how this differs from Domain Authority Domain Authority 1.0. And so Domain Authority for the longest time used to be all about getting good backlinks. And that's still important in Domain 2.0, but that's just a small piece of the puzzle. Hey,
Kevin, let's back up for a sec. Let's define what Domain Authority is, too. I think that's important as well, because a lot of people think about domain authority and they think, oh, my DA needs to be high, otherwise I can't rank, right? Which is not as true in theory, but it's relative to your industry and your competitors, right? Because DA is a metric that Moz makes,
right?
And it's not something that Google doesn't look at Moz's DA and goes, okay, you have a high Moz DA, I'm going to rank you higher,
right?
So, you know, how would you define DA?
Well, in simplistic terms, I'd say it's really how Moz views the credibility of your website on a scale from 1 to 100, with 100 being the highest. I know there's a lot more that goes into domain authority, but in a nutshell, it's essentially how credible your website is, or how credible
and that's
it is,
what I think is
in the eyes of Google.
Totally, and that's what I think with Domain Authority 2.0 is it's just a way for Moz to make their algorithm or their domain authority metric more valuable to the users, right?
Right.
But it's important, just a footnote here. It's important that you look at your domain authority in relation to your industry, because DA 90 is really important for news sites, right? And 80 and 90, all the high DA. But if you're a plumbing site and you're going against other local plumbers, you don't need a DA of 90, right? You need to make sure you have good links and you have a strong DA compared to your competitors, right?
Right. Yep. You hit the nail on the head.
So, Domain Authority, Moz launched Domain Authority 2.0, and you want to take us through the highlights?
Yeah. So essentially, we've heard all this talk about EAT in marketing, especially after a big Google Core update. Everyone talks about EAT. And EAT stands for expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And going back to what we said earlier, how domain authority used to be very dependent on your backlink profile. Now, like I said earlier, backlinks are just a small piece of the puzzle. And what we're seeing in Domain Authority 2.0 is that sites are being analyzed and evaluated based on their EAT. And there's a lot of ingredients that go into EAT, which we're going to dive into right here. So essentially, I guess the biggest difference between Domain Authority 1.0 and Domain Authority 2.0 is 2.0 is it's a lot more layered than 1.0. There's a lot more elements that go into building that up.
Totally, and there's a lesson there for the user too, where you shouldn't just be looking at backlinks in terms of DA, right? And that's what Moz, that's the shift that Google has said time and time again over the last few years, and that's the shift that Moz is making to help make their DA metric more valuable.
Right. And I think Google, and they're really picking up on, there's very, very good link builders out there, but just your ability to build links shouldn't be the only factor that impacts your credibility. And so they're getting a lot more versatile in how they measure that credibility. And so I guess the next question is, what does this mean for brands, that EAT is essentially the new domain authority? And I guess starting at the top right here, the process of truly becoming an expert and showcasing that online has become a lot more difficult than it has been in recent years. And maybe I'm a little biased because I am a writer and I do this kind of stuff every day, but I'd say my biggest advice for companies, if they want to build up their Domain Authority 2.0, is to stop hiring cheap freelance writers to help promote their expertise. Is that a fair thing to say? I know I'm totally biased in saying that. But
yeah, you get what you pay for,
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like there's still a lot of companies who, because you can get an expert in blog post written. I guess I don't want to say expert blog post, but you can get a blog post written for $10, or you can spend $1,000 on a blog post. And I think a lot of what's happening right now is the value in going the extra mile and getting really good expert content written is, it's really tough these days. And I think Google's really smartening up to people who are, paying $10 for a blog post just for the sake of getting content on their site to make them appear like an expert. For example, at my company, we have a client, they sell tires online. And tires, as we've been writing for them for about a year now, and that is a really in-depth topic. As boring as it sounds, it is very, very in-depth. And there's just so much technical jargon and just so many super technical concepts you have to understand as writers. We really have to become tire experts to write for this client. And, this company couldn't get that for $10 on Upwork. And so, yeah, I guess that's the biggest, to sum things up. If you want to build expertise, you need to hire expert content writers or really good chameleon content writers who can make...
Or you need to be a content writer yourself. Or you need to be an expert in the industry yourself, right? Because, you also need to think about your site and what it's relevant for, right? If you have a site and that's all, focused around DIY, right? Or sewing or something like that, right? If you're selling sewing machines or sewing needles or sewing lessons or whatever, and you're trying to rank for a term around woodworking, or building a birdhouse or whatever,
right?
That, you're not an expert in woodworking, you're an expert in sewing, right? So you got to build that expertise up no matter what industry you're in.
Yep. And you just got to you got to take your focus keywords and then just build expertise around those focus keywords. And all right, so moving on.
In addition to on-page, expertise, there's also that external piece of expertise that's important too, right? Just like you want to build strong links that positions your website as a leader in the space, the same you want to do the same for your expertise, right? You want people to recognize that you are the leading authority on a topic. And that's, the crux of the whole point of EAT is, Google doesn't want non-doctors giving medical advice on the web, right?
Exactly.
So you need to make sure you've got people that are talking about you in context of being an expert on a specific topic, right? And that will ultimately help your EAT signals, in the long run.
Right, and I think that kind of spills into the next part about authoritativeness. Just getting links and mentions back to your website, which are essentially just like nods saying, okay, it's little endorsements saying that you are an expert. So I always like to say when I talk about EAT score, expertise is about showcasing your expertise and, authoritativeness is all about how other people perceive your expertise. And that's, like I said, through good backlinks and mentions. And I think another big thing when it comes to authoritativeness, I know you touched on this earlier, but the relevancy in linking. Because, for example, let's say you run a restaurant, and if a plumber or an electrician says you have excellent food, I mean, yeah, that's good, but I mean, that doesn't say, because they're not an expert in food. That's not their core area of expertise. Whereas if someone like Gordon Ramsay or Rachel Ray said that your restaurant has amazing food, that's going to be a huge endorsement. And so I think when it comes
100%, and that's something that I think many people forget about, right? Is that they just think, I need links. Mm-hmm. That's not how it works. You need good links that position you as a leader.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's what Google's trying to crack down on, is all these people that are selling these links on these sites that don't make any sense. Or, I see this a lot. The site itself has an inflated DA, right? The DA will be like 40, mm-hmm. and the site has no organic traffic at all, right? So, people are like, oh, I care about what's the DA of the link. It's really important to me. Like, well, it's not really, because the sites that you're getting links on have no organic value, so that link is not helping you, no matter how high the DA is, because that site sucks.
Right.
Right. So, you want to think about, just like with expertise, what you just mentioned about, Rachel Ray saying that your restaurant is good. Well, let's pick this up after the break.
Yep. All right. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll be back in a couple minutes with segment 2.
A podcast or radio show on WS Radio is a great way to create content marketing. Turn prospects into customers into raving fans. Contact Wade at WSRadio.com or call 866-WS-RADIO.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine show on VinVillage Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children.
After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
One person has the power to change the world, impact millions of lives, and leave a legacy for lifetimes to come. That person is you. In the New York Times bestseller, What is Your What?, Steve Olsher, award-winning author and founder of the Reinvention Workshop, reveals his proven process that has helped thousands of men and women discover, share, and monetize the one thing they were born to do. Grab your free copy now at www.whatisyourwhat.com/free. That's www.whatisyourwhat.com/free.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Can you help a newborn baby in need? Sometimes the blessing of birth becomes complicated and perilous. Miracle Babies is there to help. Miracle Babies helps moms and dads give their all to their struggling little baby, but still need more. When you give to Miracle Babies, you help them give more. More skin-to-skin care, breast milk, and love. Go to miraclebabies.org and give right now. Be their miracle.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Welcome back, marketers. You're listening to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter and powered by WS Radio. And in the studio today, I've got Sam Wheeler, and we are talking all about SEO for 2020. Now, in our last segment, we went over Domain Authority 2.0 and everything that factors in. And just to pick right up where we left off, we were talking about EAT score and how to boost it. Sam, I know you were talking about authoritativeness and building organic links and how that relates to organic traffic. I wonder if you just want to pick right up where you left off.
Yeah, totally. So, a bunch of sites that I've seen, a bunch of brands, they buy these cheap links that are on sites that inflate their DA just so they could sell links. And when you're thinking about authoritativeness and domain authority, and Moz, I think did a good job of kind of molding the two, and just, Google says, build good links that make sense and position yourself as a leader. That's all they care about, right? So, when you're looking at where to get links, that needs to be on a relevant site, like you mentioned, and it needs to make sense. A page about flowers linking to a page about baseball bats, doesn't make any sense, right? And so there's a whole different, there's a lot of different metrics you can look at, but the biggest mistake I always see is people just only looking at DA, right? Where it's, you need to make sure the link is adding value, right? At the end of the day, is the link adding value? If the answer is yes, then it's a good link.
Yeah, I agree. I see that all the time. I run my travel blog. I run kind of on the side. DA is really the lifeblood of link building. That's the only thing that 99% of travel bloggers look at is just DA. And the content is just irrelevant compared to the DA.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think it's a topic that was super popular like 3-4 years ago, where that's, the DA was a very good indication, and it hasn't really been, because you can artificially inflate your DA, like I mentioned, and I think Moz has gotten wise to that, which is why they're making their 2.0 domain authority a little bit more inclusive of different metrics than just, is there a link pointing to you?
Right.
Which I think will ultimately hurt some of these, crappy websites that have no organic traffic at all, but have a high DA because, they artificially inflated it.
Right. I think that's just really the nature of SEO in general. Like, the big giants come up with their algorithms and their rules and how they determine metrics. And then slowly but surely, the SEOs find their workarounds and ways to game the system, forcing, the big metrics and, like Moz, Google, all like the big SEO companies, they have to really just adjust their algorithms to keep people from gaming the system.
Totally. And you can see that if you look at the history of link building, you can see just all these different tactics that once worked and were spammed to hell, right? Like discounting or, social roundups or whatever, like all these posts that, don't really work anymore, but did back in the day. And, that's the nature of any industry really, is improving and growing.
Right.
So when you're thinking about how can I grow my SEO profile for 2020, I guess the takeaway from this, first 15 minutes of our discussion here is just make sure you're building strong links and you're being mentioned as a leader in your industry.
Right. Yeah, and I think just the biggest thing when you're building links in general is whenever there's a link placed in a piece of content, you got to ask yourself, how does this link add value to the reader? Like, if they were going to click on that, given the context of where it's included in the content, where can they go from that? If it leads to nothing and it's not relevant at all, don't do it. It's not going to help you.
Totally. 100%. And Google has said that they ignore spammy links. So, back in, a few years ago, if you had like all these bad links in your profile, that maybe were just built by spam bots or something or whatever, you have to use the disavow file, but that's a pretty complex process of, it's risky too, right? If you just spell the wrong thing, it could really hurt your site. So, what they did was they basically made their robot understand links more and more to be able to just be like, this link is not adding value, I'm going to ignore it.
Right.
And it's just not helping your profile at all. And they've said this publicly, and, time and time again, I have to, tell clients or tell brands like, hey, these 500 links that you paid for.
Yeah, they're worthless.
They're just being ignored. They're worthless. Yeah. They're being ignored by Google, and you're better off just not doing that anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that leads to another really good point, a really good tidbit we should talk about for SEO in 2020 is disavowing links. I think what we see a lot with companies that come to us, they went to just a tool that they found on Google. They just like, okay, I need a tool for disavowing links. And so a lot of those tools, they just automatically generate your link profile, and then I feel like a lot of the tools just kind of pull out of a hat which links they tell you to disavow. And I think a big thing for SEO for 2020 that brands need to get down is not to place that much faith in disavow tools. Because like you said earlier, Google's bots are getting really good at identifying those links that aren't really adding much value. And so a lot of what we're seeing with these disavow tools is brands are looking at them, and then they're just going off these recommendations of the tools saying, okay, we need to disavow this, and this link. And in a lot of cases, what we're seeing is brands are disavowing links that are actually helping them. And so I think the biggest takeaway, I know this is a little bit of a tangent here, the biggest takeaway if you're disavowing links is just be logical about it. Like, just ask yourself with each link, is this really adding value? And another thing to think about, if a link is not adding value and a tool is telling you that it's not adding value, Google's probably ignoring those links anyway. So just a little side note here. And when
I agree completely. And we typically will, if it was something that was like naturally built, then it's really, you don't need to spout, like you said, because Google is probably ignoring it. But if there are links that are specifically against Google's linking policy, if it's super clear that they were paid for, or, the sponsored posts or something like that, you got to either get them no-followed or use the disavow file, I think, to just shape links that are obviously against Google's algorithm, right? So, I have a theory that we could talk about for a whole podcast, that the no-follow attribute will not be important in 3 years at all, because Google Robot's going to know the difference between a paid link and an unpaid link.
Right.
But we can talk about that later. But for the most part, if it's really obvious and a human could spend 5-10 minutes looking at your link profile and realize you're trying to game the algorithm, then that would be a recipe maybe for disavowing, right? Because that would be, you can still get a manual action penalty for linking if somebody from Google physically goes and looks at your link profile and identifies that you are, engaging in nefarious linking tactics, and then you can still get penalized. So, there still is some value in the disavow file, but you have to be very particular with how you use it.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's definitely value in it. My main point is just don't rely too heavily on these tools that just generate links and just, that's all automated. So I feel like when it comes to disavowing links, you just got to use your best judgment and not rely too heavily on the tools out there. And
totally.
Yeah, like you were saying, and a lot of the links, like for example, if you're getting a lot of spam links from like adult sites or foreign sites or all of these, Google is ignoring those. They're going to know that you didn't go out there on your own and build a bunch of porn links in an attempt to build up your credibility. Like Google's smarter than that. They're ignoring those links anyway. So I think the biggest thing is just don't freak out if you see a bunch of links that you didn't build, and don't rely too heavily on the generated tools. Like I've said, I think this is the 4th time I've said this. Don't rely too heavily on those automatically generated tools. Okay, so moving on, I want to talk about trustworthiness and building it as a way to increase your domain authority 2.0. So I think what we've seen is a lot of the trustworthiness factor comes down to your site itself. And, you just have to have a platform that looks sleek. It's got to look secure. Like, you got to be transparent about what you're promoting on the site and what you're all about. Because, I mean, think of first impressions on the web, as everyone knows, are very, very important. Like, for example, if you go on an e-commerce site that looks like it's straight out of 1999, it doesn't have an SSL certificate, and it just looks super janky, you're probably not going to spend your money there because, you know, your first impressions are, okay, if I give over my credit card information, I'm probably going to get hacked. And so a lot of what we're seeing with trustworthiness is just building a site that people land on immediately and think, oh, wow, this looks sleek. I would feel comfortable giving my personal information to this site. And so how do you go about building that trustworthiness? Well, I'd say first.
Hey, Kevin, let me just jump in for a sec, too.
Yeah.
So on top of it visually being appealing, it also needs to be secure, right? So it's not just, you know, you can't just slap a little button on there that says this is a secure site, right?
Right. Yeah,
you need to make sure that it actually is secure.
PPS, SSL certificate
for
starters. And I think sorry to cut you off. I think other big important factors we're seeing is just having being clear, like there's got to be a very clear About Us page on there. Like your contact information has got to be really easily accessible. People shouldn't have to dig for it. You should have a good privacy policy on your site to say, you know, if you're going to take consumer data, what are you going to use it for? Like, how are you keeping it secured? And always have an opt-out button. Like, you know, you got to give the users a little bit of freedom on how they can navigate your site. And I know we're just out of time for this segment here. So yeah, we will pick up, we'll finish up with trustworthiness and dive more into visual search for 2020. All right, thanks for listening. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Kinja Dixon was crowned the #1 sales executive through hard work, deep thinking, and the revelation of universal talk laws. He now wants to share these lessons with you. Universal talk laws are what you need to know and use in business and at home to have successful and effective conversations. Kinja Dixon shares his wisdom, action plans, and wealth. Each book comes with a chance to win $10,000. Find Universal Talk Laws at KinjaDixon.com.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Welcome back, marketers. You're listening to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter and powered by WS Radio. In the studio today, I've got Sam Wheeler, and we are talking all about SEO in 2020. So we are still talking about Domain Authority 2.0. I feel like we could talk about this for weeks. We were talking about building trustworthiness and how important it is to have a secure site, have transparency in your terms, conditions, privacy page, everything like that, having clear contact information, and et cetera, et cetera. So I want to keep going with trustworthiness here, and I want to touch on reviews today and how they impact Domain Authority 2.0. So just from a casual view, taking SEO out of the picture, I'd say reviews are probably the most important thing in how I choose products and how I choose businesses these days. Sam, would you agree with that in a general statement?
For sure. I think for definitely on Amazon, and, you know, I'm looking at it for some purchases, but some, you know, I guess I'm a marketer, right? So you can take some stuff with a grain of salt, right? If there's 5 reviews on something, probably because it was like friends or, you know, somebody that they knew or they paid for it or something. So, you know, I like to look at it as look for reviews that appear to be genuine and take those advice, right? Definitely on like choosing a hotel or Airbnb, I rely on reviews a lot. But, you know, if it's some product that on Amazon that I buy a lot or I know, you know, it's like a smaller purchase, you know, I kind of take the reviews with a grain of salt.
Yeah, definitely. And I think reviews have really just evolved so much over the past 5 to 10 years. You know, when we first started with reviews, you know, you're seeing a lot of fake reviews. And just as soon as people realize how important they are, they were either paying for reviews or just writing them themselves. And I think that's come a long way. I think a lot of the big, especially the Google verified review platforms, and a lot of the heavy hitters have taken a lot of strides to really cut down on those inauthentic reviews. So yeah, brief history on online reviews. Technically, the concept of online reviews started back during the Clinton impeachment. And it was, I can't remember the name of the platform off the top of my head, but online reviews started as a way for people to review politicians on the internet. And that slowly segued into being able to review doctors and medical professionals online. And then that kind of snowballed into what we see today, where reviews are pretty much around anything. So yeah, I think, Sam, going back to what you said, the most important thing for businesses to prioritize in reviews is just getting good, detailed reviews that come off as genuine. Like, as a user, you know, I look at reviews all the time, and I feel like humans in general have just gotten really good at identifying bullshit in reviews. You know, if you see only 5-star reviews, no one has a negative thing to say, there's probably something fishy going on behind the scenes. Wouldn't you agree? Sam, did I lose you?
Totally, right?
Okay.
You know, I'm here. Totally. Especially if all the reviews are similar, right? Great product, I love it. Or this product is so fun, right? You want to look for, you know, the real heroes out there are people that actually take pictures of their Amazon purchases and make a review out of it.
I agree. I've tried my best to be one of those people because I look at reviews all the time when I buy anything on Amazon. I try to, you know, give back by doing the same, but it's kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, especially for a lot of, you know, small businesses and stuff, you really like their product. That's like one of the best things you can do as a consumer is, you know, leave a public review.
Yep.
You know, saying how much you like them, or, you know, just being honest, because, you know, people will, you know, some people think it's weird to, have a bunch of reviews on like your Google, with your Google email or your YouTube or whatever. But it's important, and it's something that's a really easy way for you to support a brand that you like without having to buy something else from them.
Yeah, I agree. So how can businesses go about boosting reviews is the next question I want to talk about. So I have an interesting stat that I think is powered by Bright Local here, that over 70% of people won't leave a review on their own, but they will leave a review if they are asked by the business. So I think the biggest thing that businesses can do to build up a review profile is just to simply ask people to leave reviews. It's not going to work every time, but you're going to get a lot more people to just, write a quick little blurb about you. So yeah, when it comes
Kevin,
to
what platform should they use to ask?
Well, I think it depends on what stage they are in their business. I think if you're a really small company right now, you can probably just keep it super personalized where, you can spend an hour every day to send emails to customers, being probably not even an hour, depending on the size of your business. Just to be like, hey, we really appreciate your business. Thanks for coming in. We just want to know how we did. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, be as honest as possible. Just try to keep that interaction personalized. And I want to bring up a quote that, remember a few months ago, we did the show with Alan Bush from, what company was he from? It was the San Diego company. It's on the tip of my tongue. It starts with an I. But they specialized in reputation management. And he said that if you are spending over, I think it was like 1 or 2 hours a day building up your online reputation, sending outreach emails, optimizing your review profile, then it might be time to hire someone, at least part-time, to start managing your reviews. But I think, especially as a small business, if you have the bandwidth, try your best to keep that email, that request to review personalized, sending out, personalized emails, giving just make it feel like you're not just sending an email blast to every single customer. But, obviously that's not realistic as your business grows. If you're getting hundreds of customers every day, then you're probably going to have to look into an automated system, maybe with MailChimp or some sort of automated email program.
Nice. Yeah, I would also add in, too, that, you can personalize those emails through MailChimp. Obviously, most consumers know that if you have, your name in an email that's sent from a brand, it's, not automated, or it's not genuine. It's an automated, so you don't need to go crazy with your personalization. I don't think. I think some level of it is comforting as a consumer, but you don't need to fake that it's a user, because then that crosses the line of being a little bit deceptive. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And on top of that too, it's more than just shooting, setting up a MailChimp or some sort of email funnel, right? You want to, if you're, let's say you have product, right, and people return them, or they call and ask for directions, or they, have something that's not necessarily a complaint, you can train your customer service team to, mention that, right? If it's just something in their script where it's if they notice that they're happy or they're ordering a second product or they're a repeat buyer, another touch point is a really cool way for, to have your customer service team be like, oh, well, thanks so much. We're really happy you like it. By the way, if you don't mind reviewing us, that would be great, right? So even, larger brands can add that to their customer service, workflow when it makes sense.
Right. And I think another step in personalization when it comes to reviews is responding to reviews. It's really hard to find a good workaround to, you really have to personalize those responses. And a lot of what we're seeing with review signals on Google is Google's taking into account if businesses are taking the time out of their day to respond to reviews and, do everything they can to resolve issues. And I think we're going to see that as a much bigger trend in 2020 is just how businesses handle their both positive and, more importantly, their negative reviews.
Ooh, that's interesting. I haven't heard too much about that. But we always tell our clients that responding to reviews is important. But I haven't read about Google taking that into consideration. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I cited a stat on that a couple weeks ago. I can't remember on the top of my head, but it's definitely a big part of the review signals right now are how you respond. And it really, I mean, it makes total sense. Google is, their undying goal is to provide the best results for searchers based on what that is. And it's obviously going to help you come off as a more credible business or source of information or whatever it may be if you're taking the time to make sure your customers are happy, and that is responding to reviews publicly. And that really just goes beyond the search engines. That just shows that you're a genuine business who cares about delivering a good customer experience. And what we're seeing is that Google is rewarding businesses that take the time to do that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it also takes, it goes back to what we were talking about domain authority too, right? Just do things right. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the way SEO is shifting this year, is just making sure you do things that are above board, right? And, the white hat tactics are the black hat tactics may still work a little bit, right? But they're not going to work forever. And we've shown, time and time again, you've seen sites get penalized and decline TIFF because the algorithm update, messes up these low-quality sites. So, for the most part, no matter what you do in any type of SEO, I wouldn't say that if you respond to reviews, you're going to grow in rankings, right? I would say it's more of like an expertise and authority signal rather than like a ranking signal itself. But, just goes back to just make sure you're doing the right thing, right? And you're supporting the users because, like you said, at the end of the day, Google wants to serve the best information to the users and not, otherwise they'll go to a different platform, right?
Exactly. And I think that goes back to, all right, we're just about done with this segment, but I want to end with a trivia question. What was Google's original slogan? Do you know this, Sam?
I don't know. I got to think about it.
It was "Don't be evil," and I think a lot of what I think a lot of what we're seeing in SEO over the past few years is really just funneled into that original slogan. But anyway, that will do it for segment 3, and we'll pick up in a couple minutes with our final segment.
Can you help a newborn baby in need? Sometimes the blessing of birth becomes complicated and perilous. Miracle Babies is there to help. Miracle Babies helps moms and dads give their all to their struggling little baby, but still need more. When you give to Miracle Babies, you help them give more. More skin-to-skin care, breast milk, and love. Go to miraclebabies.org and give right now. Be their miracle.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get to the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
And welcome back, marketers. You are listening to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter and powered by WS Radio. In the studio today, I've got Sam Wheeler, and we are talking about SEO for 2020. And we are still talking about Domain Authority 2.0. We've gotten about a fourth of the way through the outline I came up with for the show. And we're just chugging along into our last segment here. And so I think we covered DA 2.0 pretty thoroughly. I mean, we could talk about this for weeks, but for the sake of the show, I'd like to move on a little bit and talk about voice search. So voice search is a trend we've just been seeing grow exponentially over the past few years. I've seen stats that they're saying almost 50% of voice queries almost 50% of search queries are going to be voiced by 2020. We saw all these stats, and I think as marketers and SEOs, I don't want to speak for everyone here, but a lot of what I see is a lot of SEOs tend to get caught up in general statistics. And like the one I threw out, I can't remember the source of the statistic, but about most queries being voice in the coming year. And Sam, I want to get your take. How important do you see voice search realistically in the next few years?
So I've always had this theory about voice search since I first heard that it was like on the rise, is that voice search is only important if you're already winning in search. Like the way that voice search works, it takes one of the top 10 results, usually the top 3, and reads you back from the actual web page. That's the way it's set up now. I mean, I'm not 100% sure how it's going to change in the future, but there's no way Google's algorithm is going to pull some information from a page on page 2, right? That's not how it works. So it's really, when you're optimizing for voice search, it's really only important for something that you're already winning in, right? So when you're thinking about, all right, how can I grow my traffic, right? You can grow your traffic by improving pages that are already getting traffic by having them get more traffic, or building new pages to bring in to build your keyword universe, right? Right. Really the only 2 ways to grow your organic traffic, at least. Right. So with voice search, it falls under that category of improving pages that are already getting traffic. So, right. It's one of those things where it's really only helpful if you're already winning, and if you're not winning, your efforts are probably better spent, getting your pages up in rankings first.
I agree, and I think a lot of it depends on the industry too. Like, for example, I kind of feel, I don't know, but I kind of feel like voice search isn't going to be super important to brands like us, like digital marketing agencies. Like no one's being like, hey, Google, hey, Alexa, how do I create my content marketing strategy for 2020? I feel like there's not going to be a ton of voice demand. Yeah, that's a really good point. When people search voice, they're looking for quick answers.
I agree. And I also, honestly, I think it kind of hurts people as well. I mean, people will argue against me on this for sure. But, if you're a recipe blogger, for example, and you get your money through Mediavine or AdSense or whatever, if somebody's using voice search and it hits your chili recipe, right, they're not getting that eyeball on your site, right? So you're losing out on, potential revenue because somebody is searching through voice, right? So, while it's good for your overall brand awareness too, there's, some scenarios where, voice search may actually hurt you. You might get more ears, or, people have the link in their Google Home or their Alexa app or whatever, but it could hurt you depending on what your revenue model is.
Right. And, you're getting rankings for keywords, but you're not necessarily generating traffic to the site. And I think that just funnels into optimizing for voice. Like either, Google is going to read what's on the featured snippet. So really it's all about the feature snippet. And, even if people see get their voice answer from the featured snippet, they're still on Google. They're not leaving Google to go to your site to get that answer. So I think in a lot of ways, like you just said, optimizing for voice can sometimes be counterproductive.
Yeah, totally. And you made a really good point about, traffic that actually adds value, because, one of my favorite things is to show brands to pages that have a lot of traffic that don't convert at all, to be like, hey, you spent $10,000 building this keyword universe, but you haven't made a single sale off of it. So, let's shift our strategy into something that may not have as many keywords, but actually moves the financial needle, right? And then, I also really, really like showing brands the keywords in paid search that they paid for that have nothing to do with their brand or their service or their product or whatever. The other day I was on the phone with this company that helps, roofers. It's like a roofing directory here, and they were bidding on terms for like roofing in LA, right? But a lot of the searches, they didn't use their negative keywords properly, and a lot of searches were for fiddler on the roof, right? Because they had the word roof in there, but that was in their broad match in paid search, and they were buying traffic for terms like fiddler on the roof. What? So I was like, look, we spent $3,000 last month paying for the keyword fiddler on the roof, Los Angeles.
Oh, yikes.
So that's always good. And it's fun to find that opportunity, but thinking about optimizing your campaign and improving your traffic and making it more monetizable, right? I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of traffic is great, but you need focused traffic is usually better, especially for smaller brands. Focused traffic is a lot better for converting on the first eyeball, right? But if you have other channels, or converting on the first visit, right? But if you have other channels that are in play, like email and social media retargeting and, other display advertising and stuff, right? You want to build those eyeballs so you can cache them or cookie them or pixel them or whatever, or get their email address, and then you can sell them another way, right? So there's other ways you can look at the value of the traffic that you're getting, but it really just depends on what your current business strategy is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So to sum it up, voice search, as flashy as it is, it might not be perfect for your financial bottom line, is what we're getting at. And
love that.
Yep. So I want to move on a little bit about actually optimizing for voice search, assuming that voice search is very valuable to you. And so a lot of what we're seeing, just to flip the script a little bit, is a lot of the voice search comes down to your ability, like I said earlier, comes down to your ability to grab the featured snippet. And to throw a stat out there, I think it was more than half of voice search results come directly from the snippet. And if they're getting a lot of those voice clicks, the key is how do you get into those snippets? And a lot of what we're seeing is you have to optimize beyond keywords. You have to optimize for questions, because that's what people are asking, their Siri, Alexa, Google Home, whatever it is. And so a lot of it's coming down to your ability to add what they call snippet bait into your content. And so I want to briefly define snippet bait. I know we have a little under a minute here. So snippet bait is about a 40 to 60 word block of content that is specifically designed to answer burning questions. And so basically, if you want to optimize for a question, you need to include the answer within 40 to 60 words as high up in the content as possible, if that makes sense. And this is just more of a general tip. It's not going to apply across the board, but this is kind of the general trend we're seeing. And
also adding schema markup too is really important, especially for FAQ sections.
Yeah.
Right. That helps with the featured snippets as well.
Definitely. And the last thing I want to touch on, we have about 10 seconds, is list snippets. And so a lot of what we're seeing is a lot of the list snippets that are getting caught is, you have to make the lists or the items of your list very available with strong H2 and H3 headers in each list item.
Kevin, right. I think we need another podcast on this topic.
I think we need 2 more podcasts on this topic. All right. Well, thanks for listening, folks. That's going to do it for this segment, and we will see you back next week for the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book Virtual Assistant, the series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Hi, Scale listener. This is David Finkel, co-host with Jeff Hoffman of Scale Your Business. I wanted to let you know that our newest book, Scale, was just released, and to encourage you to get your copy. The book will give you 7 proven principles to grow your business and get your life back. Scale will help you work less by getting your business to produce more. Get your copy online or at your local bookseller. For more information, visit us online at scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com.